I was sent back to Kitty Jail. Hi, I'm Jan Falconer, a children's author, grandmother, and, apparently, a repeat offender. Welcome to The Plot Thickens, the unofficial version. Now, after coming home to Orkney, I rather imagined the following week might be a little quieter. Not quiet exactly, just quieter. However, life had other ideas. The first clue arrived on the ferry home. Normally I'm one of those people who'll happily chat to almost anyone. This time I was unusually quiet. Halfway through a perfectly good fish and chip supper, I realised why. I was coming down with a summer cold. I remember thinking, well, this isn't particularly good timing. Then I finally arrived home. There wasn't much opportunity to feel sorry for myself. The car still had to be unpacked, the washing put on, shopping done, everything returned to where it belonged. I was getting home organised. Once that was done, I can settle. Monday disappeared much in the same way. There was writing, podcast preparation, planning for my visit to the Thickens primary school, and all those ordinary jobs that quietly wait for you after a few days away. Well, this was a few weeks. I kept on telling myself, it's only a cold. The strategy worked brilliantly until Tuesday morning. I woke up struggling to catch my breath. It only lasted a short while, but it gave us both a big fright. Now, my husband very sensibly pointed out that if I wanted to be well enough for the Thickens school on Thursday, I might actually do something rather radical. Rest. So out came the lemsip, the hot lemon drinks, the lozenges, and enough tissues to keep a small pharmacy in business. Every so often, another mug would appear, another drink would be made, and I'd be reminded that, every now and then, slowing down is actually part of getting better. Tuesday became my day of rest. I wasn't very good at it. I've never enjoyed lying in bed. Within minutes, my brain had produced a long list of things I could be doing instead. Then I noticed a slug making a determined progress outside. Apparently, even the wildlife was having a more productive day than I was. By Wednesday, I was feeling much better. There was no way I was postponing filming. The camera came out, the lights went on, and as always, the production team assembled. Abby offered quiet encouragement. Inspector Webber carefully reviewed proceedings to ensure everything met his exacting investigative standards. And Suki supervised. Well, she dictated. She directed. She remained firmly of the opinion that entirely too much filming had taken place without the adequate feline representation. Right at the very end, I quietly slipped in a final photograph of Her Majesty and thought I might just even satisfy the executive director. Apparently not. An official complaint remained firmly on file. By Thursday, my voice had sort of come back to normal. It was good enough. Armed with a bottle of water and a few lozenges, I spent a wonderful morning at Thickens school, sharing stories with the children. The cough was gone. Something in the diary that simply mattered too much for me to miss. Later that day, I dropped off some copies of Finding Her Paw Prints into the library in Stromness. One of the unexpected pleasures of writing books is the conversations that happen in the most ordinary places. You call in a bank, you drop in books at a library, you pop into a shop. Before you know it, you're talking about reading. Grandchildren, Suki, Inspector Webber, and somebody's favourite childhood book. Those conversations are never planned. They're often the nicest part of the week. Meanwhile, social media developed a storyline of its own. There is now compelling evidence that Suki may have staged a hostile takeover of my TikTok account. The videos certainly seem entirely consistent with her priorities. Meta appears reasonably successful at preventing feline access to Facebook and Instagram. TikTok, however, has certain security weaknesses that Inspector Weber has been able to open a file, progress it, inspect it. So in retrospect, it wasn't the quieter week I had imagined. There's been travelling, unpacking, shopping, writing, podcasting, preparation, filming, recovering from a summer cold, a school visit, library visit, and all the ordinary jobs that quietly continue whether you published a book or not. It turns out life doesn't recognise my diary. Now, before I go, it's time for the Kitty Jail Report. Following a full review of the week's activities, the Queen of Cats has reached her verdict. The charges include excessive writing, unauthorised library visits, recording videos that failed to include the Queen, and perhaps most serious of all, fraternising with barn cats. Apparently, Dad built Willie, Jimmy, Fat Boy, Spooky, Billy and Chancer perfectly good houses beneath the catio. Instead of keeping to themselves, they've turned the area outside the lounge window into their own little social club. Chancer now sits on the windowsill looking in. Billy appears to see what's happening, and I'm caught chatting away through the glass, as though it was perfectly normal. Suki strongly disagrees. The catio was built for her, not as a meeting place for barn cats. To make themselves even worse, when Suki refuses to let me fuss over her, I had the audacity to stroke Inspector Weber instead of chat to Chancer and Billy. This has not improved my position. My appeal has been rejected. The sentence in Kitty Jail has been extended indefinitely. So, until next time, take care, and if your life ignored your plans this week, I'd love to hear about this in the comments. I'll see you next week for another edition of The Plot Thickens, the unofficial version.